All my life is going like this. I'm all sad, don't do me like this. Girls can't be too choosy like this. Girls can't be too moody like this.
It's broken! It's broken!
Maybe the next game we can play at is Goat Simulator.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. We've had a break, but now we're back. It's SAFRL Season 8, Round 1. Tonight the drivers are going to be tackling 5.8 kilometers, 26 laps, top speeds of 330 kilometers an hour, around 18 corners, and very little in way of elevation change, just the 11 meters. Nice place to start the season, obviously Silverstone. Everybody starts with a clean slate. Everybody back to 0 points. Everybody with the same opportunity. See, we've got 14 drivers in the field. Just the single short quali session. So 18 minutes. That's already ticked down to 17.5 minutes for everybody to get out there, set their best lap, and hopefully start from a favorable position in this race. Just let me know if you guys can hear everything properly. Can you hear my voice? Can you hear the game? Is there anything missing? Let me know. Already some drivers coming out on track. I keep on doing that today. Apologies about the intro. Having some tech issues. Just need to do this real quick because I've got voices coming out of my controller. There we go. No more voices from my controller. We can get back to the action. Just Q1. We're not going to have a Q2 or a Q3. This is it. This is your opportunity. A lot of cars already out on track. All of those cars on out laps. No one on a timed lap yet. Still have a handful of cars, about 6 cars remaining in the pits. It is a pretty lengthy racetrack, 5.8 kilometers. So it does take a while to get around here. Can't tell you who the driver was because I don't remember, but there was one driver who was one of the favorites for pole on Monday night. Just left that final run a little too late, wasn't able to get over the start finish line for that last lap. So you want to make sure you get your timing right. This is Stoffel, one of the 2 Mercedes here tonight, the other one Loki, still sitting in the pits. I think we will see any surprises on the tyre screen. Everyone will be on the set of softs, and then Loki decides, well, let's just make the commentator sound silly, I'm going to go on mediums. So Loki on a set of mediums, obviously not putting too much into this first run, maybe trying to set have an extra set of softs for the race. This is the Ferrari. One or 2 Ferraris here tonight, the other one on an outlap, that is Spike's. Skull on the other hand, he's attempting his first timed lap of the evening. This is the Scuderia Ferrari. Without the HP branding. I think it looks better that way. And I will just call it Scuderia Ferrari. I'm not going to be calling it Scuderia HP Ferrari. Stoffel goes over the line. It's a 129.3. First time lap of the evening. Skull's about to go over the line next. No, he's not. He's approaching Maggots and Beckett. Of course, that used to be the start-finish line. And until only a few years ago, MotoGP still used that pit lane. Even though the track was as it is now and it had that amazing pit complex on the main straight, MotoGP did use the older pits only until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And that was quite complicated because the start-finish line was still where it is for F1. Very complicated. 5 drivers have set lap times. 7 drivers, there we go, lap time starting to come in now. 127.5 is the fastest that we've seen so far, by quite a considerable margin. A 27.5. The next lap is a 20. Oh, there we go, somebody's closed the gap. Spikes 27.6. I was going to say that gap is way too big. Then Spikes comes in and changes it all. Now the front row is only split by 1/10 of a second, but then the second row almost a further second down. So those drivers who did their first runs, they'll be looking to get back out there and improve as quickly as possible. Still 3 drivers out on track yet to set a lap time. Those drivers are Musa Essa, Loki and Boinkies, who's just got on his first outlap of the evening. So for some drivers, they'll be thinking improvement. For others, they'll be thinking the basics. Let's get a lap time in. Of course, if you watched the race on Monday night, also SAFRL Tier 1, same calendar, remember. They also started off their season as we are doing now. Started in Britain, that race. We had no safety cars. We did have a virtual safety car relatively early on. I think it was lap 3 or 4. But for the most part, drivers behaved themselves. And that was in a field of 20. We'll see how that translates this evening. If we can have another safety carless race, or if we're going to have a marathon of safety cars. Of course, on this channel we've had both. You've even had races where we've suggested a tyre change for the safety car. Moller currently in P4, the top Aston Martin. His teammate down in P9. Skull currently just inside the top 10. Then Stoffel, Chums, Rakwa, Boinkies, 2 Kicksalvers. They'll want to be getting on with it. They're at the rear of the field. Maggot goes quicker. Maggot goes quicker. Just cements that provisional pole. Spikes in P2. He's in the pits. He's going to have to react to that, come out again, look for something a little better. Maggot did improve his time by 1/10 of a second, I believe. It's now at 27.4, so the gap at the front row is 2/10. This is Panda in P3. 27.9 is his best time as he approaches the Maggots and Beckett's complex. Such an iconic part of this race circuit. You might not know any Silverstone history, but you know Maggots and Beckett's. Of course, the S's at COTA, Circuit of the Americas, are based on Maggots and Beckett here in Britain, though they do feel very different to me. Panda goes fastest. We swapped to him just in time. It's a 27.36. That means it's just 3.5 well, that's 300ths away from pole position. Very nicely done. Panda leads the way. Now Maggot He's in the pits. You will have seen that. He'll want to reclaim P1. So he's going to have to get out there. Spike's still in the pits. Don't want to leave it too late. Another thing we saw on Monday was a lot of drivers taking shortcuts over the grass, trying to get to the pits a little bit faster. It's not really recommended. You could always lose control there on the grass, find yourself in the barrier, play no further part in qualifying. At the front, Panda, Maggot, Spikes, Top Gun, Moller. Then we have Boinky, Scotsy, Pantry Star, Loki, who's retired from the session, Musa Essa in P10, and then Skull just knocking on the door of the top 10. He's in P11, followed by Stoffel, Chums, and Rakwa making up the field. Let's have a look at Rakwa. That's the second McLaren. Currently a 130.2. It's good enough for P14. Still looking for improvement. Still out on track. Panda returns to the pits victorious. Went out there to take provisional pole, and he did take provisional pole, but now he's going to have to come out again and defend it. Thought Loki may have just retired from the session voluntarily, but he did not. He had an incident and crashed out in sector 2. So best possible starting position for Loki will be in P9. That is obviously if none of the cars behind him are able to find an improvement. Some of those drivers behind him, they're quick drivers. They definitely have an improvement in them. It's just a matter of, can they stitch together the right lap at the right time? The two RBs running in 7th and 8th at the moment. That's Gotzi and Pantry Star. Both very quick drivers on their day. And for them to be down in 7th and 8th, it tells you a little bit about the quality of the field. Pantry Star has improved, we missed that, but he does a 27.7. Becomes another driver there in the 27s. Let's see if Gotzi is able to improve as his teammate did. Still getting used to the livery on the RB. Looks really good. Wouldn't mind them getting rid of the white. So Loki already in P10. Remember, those cars behind him, they're still in the session, so they can improve. Musa Essa 28.8, he's just a 10th away from Loki. Stoffel 28.9. Skull 28 flat, so all of those cars, they can just find a 10th or 2, they can go ahead of Loki. That means Loki would have to start at the rear of the field. The good news for him is this isn't Monaco or Hungary. Overtakes are aplenty. If you're committed and a little bit brave, you can get it done. Of course, on Monday, majority of the drivers went for a one-stop. I think the only drivers who didn't have a one-stop were drivers who made unintentional visits to the pits. We also didn't have that many penalties. This is Silverstone, one of the widest circuits on the calendar, so if you do invalidate here, you're just being greedy. Got more than enough space. Pantry Star in the pits, Top Gun, Moller, Gotzi, lots of drivers in the pits. We're going to see a very busy racetrack in about a minute or two because there are so many drivers in the pits and there are even more returning to the pits. So I think in the next 2 or 3 minutes This track is going to be completely packed. This is Skull. Going to be looking for an improvement. His teammate up on the second row in P3. He's down in P13 with a 129 flat. If he's able to find himself 3 tenths, he can go ahead of Loki. 4 tenths, can find himself in P10. 5 tenths, P9. That's how close the order is. A couple of tenths can take you from P13 to P9. One McLaren at the bottom of the field, the other one trying to get to the top of the field. Maggot 27.4 flat. Looking for an improvement. It's going to have to be a decent improvement. Just to get ahead of Panda, who remains in the pits with 3 minutes remaining. I'm sure we will see him get out there again. In reality, Maggot just needs to find a little over 300s and he can take provisional pole, so Panda will have to come out and defend that lap. It's in no way safe territory. And then not far behind at all is Spikes. Those 3 cars separated by less than half a tenth. Of course, the last Formula 1 Grand Prix we saw something which we almost never see. We saw identical lap times. Of course we have seen identical lap times before, but not for pole. The last time that happened was in 1997 when 3 drivers got the pole position lap. Just like last week, obviously they took the positions as they set the lap. So the order was Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher, Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Top 3 drivers, identical lap times. Imagine taking pole, technically, and starting in P3. With no penalties, you didn't do anything wrong. You technically took pole, just starting on the second row. A lot of cars on outlaps. Few cars on their final run. At what point is he draining that battery? Not sure. Stoffel going very slowly, no question there. Rockwell just having a bit of a weave. He's on an outlap, looking to get as much tire temperature as he can. Extract every little piece of grip, every little bit of traction that is available to him. But in order to do that, he really needs to wake up the tires before he starts that quick lap. You want all the grip as you get to turn 1. You don't want to still be looking for grip. This is Panda, currently in P1. I said he'd come out and defend that time. He has come out to defend that time. He's currently on a quick lap. He's done his outlap. Let's ride on board with your current pole sitter as he goes through sector 1. And he does improve. He improves almost by a tenth in sector 1. 900ths of a second is the improvement. He can keep this together for the rest of the lap. He should be able to find a little bit more. But how much more does Maggot have? Maggot's in P2, also out on circuit. Also looking for an improvement. And those times are so incredibly close. Pantry Star in P4. He's just gone over the line to start his quick lap with 8 seconds remaining on the clock. So if you're on track and you're trying to get to the checkered flag, your time is up officially. There we go, checkered flag already for some of those drivers. Spikes, Stoffel and Skull. They are done. Panda still out on track, defending his provisional pole time. Let's see, he's about to go over the line. Does he improve? Yes, he does. 27.2. He found a whole 2 tenths more. So he's moved the goalpost. Maggot was having a brilliant lap. He needs something even better. Goes over the line. It's a 127.303. Does find a slight improvement, but not an improvement in position. Spikes, he's done. Muller, P5, 27.8. He wants to go into P4, just needs to find himself a 10. he wants to go any higher than that, gonna have to find about half a second. There is Boinkies, the second kick Salva. His teammate just ahead of him, Chums in P8. Boinkies currently P9. This is Muller in the final stages of his lap, and he did not like my onboard commentary. He's put that car sideways in the very closing stages of the lap, so if he was improving, that'll be extremely frustrating. Boinkies comes into the pits. There was obviously no improvement on the cards, and I believe that is checkered flag for everybody, with the exception of Boinkies, because he's entering the pit lane. So that, folks, I believe, is qualifying. Of course, qualifying is fun. It's all fun and games. But it does not contribute to the championship standings. The championship standings, driver, constructor, those points can only come from a race. So regardless of what you do in qualifying, sure, pole position can definitely help your chances in the race. But if you're down the order, fear not. Points are still very much on the table. As we've seen on this channel many times before, few safety cars can really change your prospects. So even when you think you're out of it, you're not really. There we go, there's the official field. Panda on pole position. Maggot will join him on the front row. Then on the second row we've got Spikes and Pantry Star, Muller and Top Gun on the third row. They're followed by Gotzi and Chums, and Boinkies and Rukwa making up the top 10. Not in the top 10 tonight, we have Musa Essa, Loki, Stoffel and Skull. That is 1.8 seconds covering the field, I think. There we go. Now I was caught a little bit by surprise on Monday night. We had a formation lap. So I believe the formation lap has been reintroduced. I say that tentatively because I'm not sure. But if we do get to the start finish line there and you see a green light, that means we're going off for a formation lap. If the red lights come on as usual, that means we're about to get going. Ready support in the comment section for Skull and Spikes. Skull starting from the rear of the field. It might not be a bad place to start. We've seen on many occasions things can get a little hairy into turn one, and if you're just able to put that car in the right place, you can really get away with it. There we go, we watch the lights. There are no red lights, and we're underway. I didn't see a green light either. This will be the formation lap. One thing we saw on Monday, we saw a lot of drivers getting disqualified on the formation lap, maybe just making contact with each other or overtaking under formation lap, whatever the case is. And it turned out to be 3 or 4 cars. Those 3 or 4 cars obviously got sent back to the start finish line. And while everybody else is on track, weaving, braking hard, getting temperature into those tires, if you get that DSQ, you have to sit on the start finish line and wait for everybody to get there, and your tires are not going to be in optimal temperature when you get to turn 1. Personally, as a driver, I do enjoy the formation lap. Just, I don't know, gives you a little bit of a feel of things before heading off into turn 1 at racing speed. One thing I'd like to do on this channel sometime is broadcast a 100% distance race. Obviously a lot of the guys don't like doing the 100%, it's a little bit too long. Of course, not on this channel, but when I previously commentated on another league that was a 100% distance league, had a full quali session, and my commentary stint used to go beyond 2.5 hours. But I did enjoy that 100% race. It's such a challenge to be able to keep your concentration. That Monaco race, 100% distance, it's grueling. Nothing easy about the 50% either, I assure you. It's not a 5-lapper, it's not a sprint. Nothing easy about a 50%. Ooh, that Ferrari parked incorrectly. We see it getting pushed back. All the cars you see grayed out there, fear not, they are not disqualified. They simply didn't get their parking quite right. Oh, will you look at that? That's how you do the starts now, I see. Terrible camera angle, I don't like it. Panda gets a good start. McLaren goes defensive, goes right behind. And there we go, Panda, Maggot, Spikes, Pantry Star, that's your order. Coming out of turn 1, Top Gun in P5, Moller P6. Boinkies losing a position, going down. He's actually, is he falling down the order? No, that's Stoffel. Stoffel's lost a few positions. And we've got a spin. There was contact. That wasn't all on his own. I think there was contact. And then we see one of the Mercedes spinning off the circuit. Stoffel now at the rear of the field due to that incident. Maggot leads the way. Panda, who started on pole position, hasn't been able to hold on to that P1 for very long. Spike's not far behind in the Ferrari. So important for everybody in this field just to stay within the 1 second mark, so when DRS does become available you can just get towed by that car ahead of you. Of course, if you let that 1 second barrier break before DRS, you're going to have a little bit more of a challenge to catch the car ahead of you. You want to stay in close proximity. DRS also in 2024 is introduced a little earlier. Or at least it should be, according to the F1 rules. Maggot 1:34.0. That's the fastest lap of the race. Obviously it's just lap 2, so these times are going to come down so much. Let's bring up some stats for those watching at home to get a better idea of what's happening, who's doing what. On Monday night, very similar scenario, mediums and softs, but we had more mediums. It was more of a 50-50 split. But on tonight, it looks like most drivers, everyone but 3 drivers, so 11 of the 14, they've started on the soft compound. 2 of the drivers, Boinkies and Pantry Star, they went for the medium compound, so they're going to be going a little later on into the race. And then Skull, doing something vastly different. Of course, knew he was starting down in P14, wanted to go for the long haul, got the hards on that car, maybe stretch those hards as long as he can, finish the race on a set of softs. Could still find himself in a promising position later on in the race. Now Maggot goes side by side with the Alpine of Panda. Who's going to come out in front? At the moment it's Panda, but will he stay there? Because they go side by side again. And again. Just keep on switching it up, and it couldn't last forever. I thought the McLaren was off, but it's even worse. Both cars. Maggot falls to the rear of the field. Ooh, these drivers are not going to be happy. And now that car is properly broken. That was Skull. That was Skull. Let's have a look at that car. Definitely got front wing damage there, missing an end plate. We also saw him go pretty hard into the wall backwards. What that sometimes does is it damages your rear wing. And if you've driven on this game, you know they can't fix that. So if it's yellow, maybe you can still get your way around. If you've got a red rear wing, you're pretty much done. So hopefully Skull was able to hold on to the entirety of that rear wing. We did see him go backwards into the barriers, and there's always a risk. Let's have a look at that Ferrari, see if he's struggling through the corners. He's going to be struggling because of that front wing. Ooh, just lots of understeer, not able to get that car turned in. So much difference just a little end plate is. Sometimes you look at a Formula 1 car and you see all these different pieces and you wonder, what could that possibly be for? Trust me, every little piece on that car is there for a reason, and the moment it's not there, you realize how important it is. Spikes now leads the race. He obviously got that lead because the leaders made contact. So Spikes leads, Pantry has been promoted up into P2, and Top Gun just behind. So we've got an RB versus a Red Bull for P2. A little further back, Moller. It's not really further back. Just behind Top Gun. Loki in P5. Boinkies and Rockwell. Remember, Rockwell was at the bottom of the field at one stage in qualifying. Left it until late. Now he's made up a few positions at the start already. Now Boinky's fighting back. Boinky's up into P6. Seen a fair amount of ghosting tonight. Not quite sure what that's. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. Ferrari versus RB. And the RB is going to come out on top this time around. Pantry Star is going to lead the way. I told you he was a quick driver out of position. Well, now he's leading. Pantry Star, Spikes, Top Gun, Moller, Loki. That's your top 5. Then we've got Boinkies, Ruckwit, Chums, Gotzi, and Maggot. Those are your top 10 drivers. Skull, still out on track with that broken front wing. Surely that car can't feel very good, and he's just going to lose time through every single corner. Corner entry, corner exit, every single time you jump on that throttle. You're just not getting the most out of the car. The car doesn't feel right. The car doesn't want to turn. Of course, the drivers in this field, they're incredibly quick. And the only way you can become incredibly quick is with a lot of practice. These guys practice, they do lap after lap after lap, trying to get used to how that car should feel and how they can get the most out of it. But the moment something is broken on that car and the car doesn't feel the way it felt during all those practice laps, you've got to realign, readjust, refocus, brake a little earlier if needed, adjust your driving style. I thought he would come in and abandon the hards. In fact, he has come in and abandoned the hards. He's just exited the pits now, Skull. He's 27 seconds adrift from the rest of the field. He'll be hoping for a safety car. Safety car will be able to bring him right back into this at the front. Pantry Star got a pretty good deal from that crash up front. He's in the lead and he's stayed there. Spikes will come back at him, I assure you. Spikes under pressure of his own from Top Gun. And Top Gun will want to get on with it, otherwise Helmut Marko won't like this result very much. Well, apparently they don't really mind. Just a reminder that if Perez had finished on Sunday, he would have finished behind the RBs. Not really the way you'd like to celebrate a 2-year extension on your contract. course, if you saw the crash in Monaco involving Perez, that car damage was estimated at a value of £3.5 million. Ferrari, RB, Red Bull, very close together, and then just on the edge of that tail, Moller still holding on within DRS. He'll know he needs to stay within DRS so that he can stay with those top three the moment he loses touch. Those three will continue to tow each other around, and P4 will just start to form a gap. That's what happened between P4 and 5. We've already got a 4-second gap. Sometimes if we do have a race with no safety cars, then these gaps begin to form throughout the field, and we find ourselves in a situation sometimes where we don't have many battles out on track. If you look at your timing screens, there are already quite a large few gaps around. That does not apply to the top four. They're still very close together. They're still all in the same frame. You can see them. This is the leader in one of the two Ferraris. Second Ferrari not having things the way he would like. Obviously picked up damage. Seems to be on the move again. Let's just ride on board with him, see if there's any. I think his rear wing is fine. Seems to be getting on with it. It was a 27-second gap to the rest of the field, now 24, so he is making up some ground. Safety car would definitely be in his best interests. On Monday night we did see a driver take the medium compound for something like 22 laps. So I don't know if he's going to be able to take it all the way to the end. Remember, he started on the hard, so his plan was to go as deep into the race as he possibly could, and then possibly come in for softs. But that damage changed everything. He had to come in, put mediums. That original strategy is going to be very far out of the window. And now it's just drive as quick as you can and hope that something happens up the road that brings you back into the race. Spikes, Pantry Star, Top Gun, all three drivers looking to get into P1 and pull away. But nobody's been able to do that. We've seen Spikes and Pantry Star at the front of the field, but neither one of them have been able to pull away. DRS very, very strong at this circuit. And as we speak of them switching positions, Pantry Star back into the lead of the race. Let's go further down and look at these two. They're still at it. They made contact when they were P1 and 2. And now they're racing for P7. See, up the field, Spikes, Top Gun. Ooh, and look at that. I think he may have made an error. We didn't see it on camera, but Pantry Star, he was looking very racy at the front with Spikes. He's now down in P3. And he's 2.5 seconds down the road from Top Gun. So that, I can only imagine, he went off the race circuit. And now he'll have to get his head down if he wants to catch these two cars ahead of him yet again. Remember, we had a battle for 4, and we had a battle for 3. Now it's just the two up front, Spikes and Top Gun. Top Gun was in P3 for the longest time, behind Spikes and Pantry Star. But then that mistake from Pantry Star has released him. He's now going up against the Ferrari. They're going to go wheel to wheel, are they? Ferrari stays in front. Top Gun thinks better of the move. Still such a long way to go in this race. Don't need to do anything harsh. car in front of you is on the same tires. And there are many DRS zones that can make this overtake a lot easier. You don't need to make it in a silly part of the race circuit. At the moment, he definitely seems to have the pace. Staying with that Ferrari, staying close to the back of that Ferrari. You want to get as close to the gearbox as possible. Get right on the diffuser of that car, open up DRS, and there's going to be very little the driver ahead can do this time. Top Gun just staying behind Spikes, not making a move. He was a little too far behind that time, or maybe he's just being cautious. The gap at the front, 0.2 of a second. Are we going to see the Red Bull going side by side? We saw a Red Bull and a Mercedes go side by side here in 2021, and it didn't turn out well. This time though, the Red Bull does get through Copse Corner. What a sight it would be to sit in Maggots and Beckett's and see these cars zoom around. Incredible direction change. Top Gun does get ahead, and now will he be able to pull off into the distance? We've seen Spikes at the front, he wasn't able to shake off the competition. We've seen Panda at the front, he wasn't able to shake off the competition. But now Top Gun, he's going to have his go at it. He now leads the race. We have a caution in Sector 1 and Sector 3 for reasons unknown to me, and hopefully that does not trigger anything we don't want to see. I'm not even going to say what I'm talking about. All of you know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say it. Let's see if the commentator's curse can read my mind too. So Top Gun leads the way from Spikes. Pantry Star in P3 is having a bit of a recovery drive. Remember, he must have had some sort of off-track excursion because he was right there at the front with Spikes. Then all of a sudden he was in P3, 2.5 seconds adrift, but he's actually closing that gap, and I think it's because the Ferrari and the Red Bull, they're starting to tangle. They're starting to go wheel to wheel. They're starting to really fight for that P1. And sometimes when you're battling lap after lap after lap, you don't really realize that you're about half a second, sometimes a second off your best because you're battling. While the guys behind you in clean air, oh, they're doing quali laps. They're pushing, they're doing everything they can. They're not distracted by another car. So it's much easier for them to come back through the field. And when you look at that, Pantry Star is 0.8 of a second. Actually 0.4 of a second behind the Ferrari, so he's caught right back up with Spikes. This time the order has changed completely. Top Gun was in P3, now Top Gun is the man at the head of the field. He's on the soft tyre, so he's where he wants to be, but he needs to extend that gap as much as he can before that first pit window. I think we're just going to have the one and only pit window, with the exception of cars who picked up damage. I think the optimal strategy, if we have no safety cars, is to only visit your mechanics once. If we go by real life stats, if you're in a kick salvo, well, you just want to stay out of the pits completely. Luckily, EA Sports has not attempted to include that into the game. I think it would be quite disastrous if you added pit stop errors. Could arrive there and find, oh, they only have 3 tires. Who's going to go get the 4th one? Anyone? Anyone? Next thing you know, you've been sitting there for 30 seconds. Imagine if they introduced that and there were all sorts of glitches. I don't think people would be too happy. Spikes, back in front. Pantry start P2. That Ferrari, that was not the Ferrari. Talking, sorry, about Top Gun. Top Gun now in P5. 14 seconds adrift. So that Red Bull jumped first. That Red Bull went into the pits. And now he's officially in his second stint of the race. He's on the medium. Drivers who started on the medium probably going to finish on the soft. Essa out of tune with everybody else. He's on the hard compound. So I think he could be looking to go right to the end of the race on those tyres. At the front, the battle continues. Spikes, Pantry Star, now Boinky's up into P3 as a result of some of those pit stops. Loki in P4. Top Gun, the first one to pit out of that group of leaders. Behind him, he's got Panda, P6. Gotti, Moller and Maggot, 7, 8 and 9. And then Essa, playing the long game on the hard tyres. He's in P10. Of course, 25 points to the winner, 1 point to the driver in P10. Those are the drivers that will take home points today. Of course, if you do set the fastest lap of the race, you get 1 extra point if you're in the top 10. Get that fastest lap outside the top 10, you're not going to get the extra point. Have seen a bit of contact today, all in the name of hard racing. Everyone pushing to their limits. Remember, it's also a new game. Some of the guys will still be tweaking things around, still trying to get used to how the new car feels. So some of these guys might not be at their absolute polished as they would have been at the end of F123, but I assure you nobody has jumped on this track without some sort of practice. Just to show, or just to emphasize rather, the quality of this field. The man running right at the rear of the field in P13, he's a podium finisher. Can go to almost any name on that timing sheet. They're either a winner or a podium sitter. There's no slow drivers here. And then what happens if you do have 1 or 2 slow drivers? Racing with this sort of competition, week in, week out, they just naturally improve. I've always said if you want to improve, you need to drive with guys quicker than you. No point in winning when you're not driving against the best. That's why for some of these guys that usually find themselves at the rear of the field or in the midfield, when they are able to get a podium or when they are able to get a win, really means so much, because this field is just so good. Some of the drivers here, there will be an argument that they should probably be racing on Monday night. So that's just the speed they have. Of course, Tier 1 was full on Monday night, 20 drivers. Always such an exciting spectacle when you see 20 cars on the grid heading off into turn 1 and you have no idea what's going to happen. It makes qualifying quite a messy thing. Everyone's just got 18 minutes, 20 drivers to get around. Of course, today the 14 drivers, so qualifying was a little bit more comfortable. We've lost 2 of those drivers, Stoffel and now Musa. That is P13 and 14 out of the race, meaning we just have 12 drivers remaining. If we have any more retirements, could still squeeze into the points. So even if you're far behind, you've got every reason to stay in this race. You can still get points here. Haven't seen a safety car. And we know how a safety car can throw things out the window when it comes to strategy. We could see a bunch of cars coming into the pits. Some won't come into the pits. They'll choose to hang on to track position. You can see an entire switch in the order. But at the moment, we've seen no evidence of such. We've seen collisions that didn't even trigger a virtual. So we may find ourselves in a situation where we don't have a safety car again for 2 SAFRL races in a week. Top Gun has pulled off into the distance. He's left these 2 cars behind, but Panda and Pantry Star still very close together. I do have a question. If we have any drivers in the comment section who's retired Stoffel and Musa, I don't know if they're here in the comment section, but if there are any drivers in the comment section, let me know. I think everyone in the field can finish this race. Do you think there's anybody? 11? I think Skull can finish on 11 lap old mediums. Top Gun leading out front, 3.7 seconds. Down the road from him there's a lot of action. There's a fight for P2, which is far from decided. It's Panda versus Pantry Star, and Pantry Star goes up into P2. He knows that Red Bull is getting a little bit too far up the road. Red Bull's got 4 lap old mediums. Pantry Star has got 2 lap old softs. He should have the advantage right now, at least for the next 6 or 7 laps, until that tire begins to drop off. But I don't know how much it's going to drop off. Don't have that many laps to go. May be able to push that soft right to the end. Top Gun's going to have a very difficult time defending from a soft runner. But first Pantry Star has to get there. He has to shake off Panda. And you're trying to close down a pretty large gap. The worst thing you could have is somebody buzzing around in your mirrors, so you want to catch Top Gun, but you also want to shake off Panda. And at the moment, just hasn't been able to do that. Panda remains in P3 and in close proximity. If there's any sort of mistake from that RB, Panda's just going to take the position back. Concentration tuned in to the absolute maximum. Even if you're in the lead, as Top Gun is 2.5 seconds, it just takes that smallest break. Sometimes there's a curb, you know you can't hit that curb. You've practiced over and over and you never hit that curb because you know you simply can't. Come to the race, you think you're trying to push for that extra 10th, and for some reason you hit the curb you knew you couldn't hit. You spin around and you think, what was that? This is the most difficult time when it comes to concentration. It's right towards the end of the race. It's when you're starting to think of your result ahead of time. If you're in the lead and you're comfortable, you've seen it in the past. Drivers leading by 20 seconds and losing the race on the second last lap. We've seen it all. We've broadcast so many races on this channel now. I believe there's over 60 races in the archive under the various playlists. Of course, since NFL has been broadcasting SAFRL, all the races are available on the channel, so if you want to go back through the seasons and have a look what happened there, you can do that. Building up a nice archive of SAFRL, SKR and DRS on a weekly basis. Of course, I haven't shown you the championship log because there is none. Everybody's sitting on 0 points. Getting a good result tonight is crucial for that start of the season. And so far, Top Gun doing everything right. The gap is coming down. Gap was a lot bigger. Now it's just 1.2 seconds. And he needs to keep Pantry Star out of DRS. The moment that RB is able to open up its rear wing with that superior traction, I just don't think the Red Bull's going to be able to do anything to defend. So what he can do to defend is keep that gap over a second. It's just on the limit. 1 second plus half a tenth. Spikes. He was in the lead of this race. Looked like he was even on for a potential win. He's now battling for P4. He's got boinkies all over the back of him. I don't think there's anybody in the field that is still due a pit stop. So that should be that until the end of the race, unless anybody has some unfortunate conditions. Top Gun, Pantry Star, Panda, those are your top three. Smoke all over the track. If you're a driver, let me know. All the smoke I'm seeing on track, is that all lockups? Or is the game doing some of that? Because I'm actually thinking the game is doing some of that. I'm seeing sometimes puffs of smoke where there is no car. Or at least the puff of smoke comes up when the car is long gone. Top Gun, Pantry Star, Panda, you can see the top three drivers. They're in the same frame. It's just 5 laps to go. Man in P1 and the man in P3, they're on the medium tire. Panda's medium tire is older. And then Pantry in P2, he's in a brilliant position. He's the only driver there on a set of softs. And he should have the advantage in these closing stages of the race. But I wonder, once those softs get to about 10 laps, will they start to drop off in performance? Will he be able to hold him much longer? No. RB gets up into the lead. And now Top Gun needs to come back at him almost immediately. He's not. He looked towards the inside. He thought about it. Thought better of it. Knows there's a DRS zone coming. Just get as close to that gearbox as you can. Open up DRS and hope you can get close enough into turn 1. Not this time around. Remember, this is for the lead of the race. This is for the win. How much closer can these 3 cars get? Look at this, they're gonna go 3 wide, are they? It's insanity. For Red Bull stays in front for now. Pantry Star was in P2, now he's going to, well, Pantry Star P3. Top Gun, Panda, Pantry Star. In fact, the driver I thought was going to have the best possible opportunity, the driver on softs, he's now down in 3rd place. Top Gun will be appreciative of that. The longer Panda and Pantry Star can try and fight for P2, just gives him that little bit of extra breathing space. They focus too much on each other, they might just let the leader get up the road. You can hardly see P2 and 3, they're so tucked in behind the Red Bull. Now Alpine into the lead of the race. Renault power, Honda power, Honda power. Those are your top three. Top performing Ferrari powered car is Boinkies in the Kick Sauber. I've just noticed we have no horses here tonight. Panda leads the way from Top Gun. Top Gun getting some shout outs in the comment section. Let's go Top Gun. I assure you, he's giving it everything he's got. 3 laps to go. He's in P2. P1 is not far away. He can see it. He'll be giving it everything. This is a good scenario for when the race is ending. If you're in a battle, you're very concentrated, you're very tuned in. Those mistakes usually come when you're running around by yourself. You've got a bit of free air, you're not coming under pressure. That's when the mistakes sneak in. Top Gun back into the lead of the race, back to the front of the field. And now lap 24 of 26. Gonna have to do this for a little bit longer. Race victory in round 1. What a start to the season. Everyone in that top 3 wants that victory. Lock up from the RB, getting oh so close to the back of the Alpine. There was almost contact briefly. Last thing you want is to break anything on your front wing. These 3 drivers incredibly similar in pace, but I assure you, if anything of your aerodynamics breaks, you're not going to be able to hold on to these 2 other drivers because they're flying. You need everything on that car working absolutely perfectly. Top Gun, Panda, Pantry Star, Red Bull, Alpine, RB. The remaining Mercedes of Loki in P6. The other Mercedes was the first car to retire from the race. Stoffel. Do have a caution. And hopefully, well, it's lap 24 of 26. So all it will be is a caution. We are in the safe zone when it comes to safety cars. Obviously, last 3 laps of the race. Can't activate a safety car. So we have had Tier 1 round 1, Tier 2 round 1, no safety cars. All done, everybody out on track. Of course, last season in Season 7, well, we tried to break records with safety cars. We had races with 5 safety cars and a further 3 virtuals. I think the record was Belgium. In Belgium, we had 2 safety cars in the sprint race and 5 in the feature race. Tonight, safety cars have not decided your field. It's all been about speed. Yes, some of it there's been collisions. Of course, in the early stages of this race, Maggot was at the front of the field. Since then, there's been contact. Things have switched around. Top Gun is in the lead of the race in the closing stages, but he has not been able to open up that gap, and now the Alpine's going to be able to come back at him. He attempted to go around the outside. It wasn't the best decision. Slots in behind the Red Bull again. You lose so much time in this complex if you're going side by side and battling at the wrong time. Lap 26 of 26. We've got 1 lap to go. And Top Gun Well, look at that. He's got a breathing space now. 1 second gap, and that's while Pantry Star and Panda are starting to come to blows. Just means the Red Bull is able to get up the road now. 1 second gap is not a big gap, but it's a great gap to have on the final lap. Further back, we're just trying to see, is there any other DRS battles on track? We've just got Spikes fighting Boinkies for P4. No other significant battles on the race circuit right now, so we'll stay with these two fighting for P2. Top Gun looks comfortable up the road. That gap 1 second. Pantry Star. Where is Pantry Star? There we go. Pantry Star P3. But he is 6 seconds adrift from Panda. So I think he is no longer in the battle for P2. It's all about Panda and Top Gun. Alpine versus Red Bull. And at the moment, I think the Red Bull's done just enough. There we go. Nothing more the Alpine can do from that position. Top Gun over the line, takes the victory. Sorry, Panda over the line, takes the victory. Top Gun P2, Panda, then Pantry Star. We're just waiting for him to come over the line. There he is, P3. Boinkies, P4. Then we have Spikes. Just wait for those official results. We do see some penalties on the screens that may affect where the drivers land up. This is Chums. Should be the next driver to see the checkered flag. There we go. Pretty close field, really. Just have one driver left. Do we have two? Yes, we have two. We're waiting for the two McLarens. Rockwell P9, Maggot P10. So Maggot, who was looking at a possible race victory tonight, is going to come out of this with 1 point. And that was a fantastic race. Panda taking the victory. Top Gun P2. Pantry Star P3. And no safety cars. Panda takes driver of the day, as well as the victory. Now let's just go to your official results. Panda taking the victory, Top Gun P2. Then Pantry Star making up the podium in the RB. He lost a bit of time there at the back end of the race. He was challenging for a victory in those closing stages. Boinkies just off the podium in P4, Spikes P5. Then Loki, Gotzi, Chums, Rakwa and Maggot picking up the final point. Skull and Moller just outside the points tonight in P11 and 12. And then DNFs from Musa and Stoffel. Panda, Top Gun, Pantry Star. If you would like, it's not compulsory, but if you would like, you can go over to the NFR Discord server and join the cooldown room. And if you're there, I'll bring you into the comms box for a short interview. Yeah, I can tell you that we've got Panda in the cooldown room, but he's in there by himself. We're just going to give it another minute or two, see if anybody else joins. Panda obviously we say for the driver interviews, we'd like to get the top 3 and the driver of the day, but Panda is the winner and the driver of the day. Seems like might be the only driver up for an interview, so Panda, I'm about to bring you into the comms box. There we go. Panda, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Fernando.
There we go. How was that? You finished P1 and driver of the day. Happy with that? Good start to the season.
Yeah, not too bad for the first race. Was a bit tough. Got spun, I think, lap 2 or 3. But yeah, great recovery job. So yeah, happy for that. And that's obviously the way you want to start the season.
Of course. That's the way you want to start the season. It was a good race, obviously, and there was a lot of switching for positions. I don't think with 2 or 3 laps to go, if you knew you were going to take that or not. It was
Yeah,
some really good racing.
It could have gone either way. I thought Top Gun was going to back off a bit because of obviously of his 3-second penalty, but he kept it going. So yeah, it was entertaining.
The guys pushed to the end. It was good racing, and something that, from a commentator's perspective, I don't know if you watched the Monday night race. One thing that both these races had in common is we haven't seen a safety car this week. So
Yeah,
it's quite impressive. In 2 uploads, we haven't seen a safety car. In last season, 2 races could add up to 10 safety cars. So a good start to the season. Got your driver of the day. Did you? I didn't notice who got fastest lap. You didn't see?
I think Pantry started the fastest lap. Yeah,
So you didn't get
almost a grand slam.
almost the full allocation, 26 points. It'd be nice if you got a point for driver of the day as well. But yeah. Oh no, that'd be great. I think then I might have a point or 2. But that's that's the only way I get points, is if everybody else in front of me retires and I miraculously make up a lot of positions. So
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't seen anybody else join the cool down room. Either people haven't heard or they're very shy. So I want to thank Panda, not only for joining us in the comms, but also for a great race, lots of entertainment, lots of wheel-to-wheel action, and like I say, it's the best possible start you could have wanted to the start of season 8.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, man. Hoping the rest of the season goes the same.
100%. And to anybody who is watching, remember there's 4 future races. We'd like to get the drivers into the comms box for an interview, the top 3 and the driver of the day. Today we got Panda in here for a short interview, and hopefully next time we get P2 and 3 in here as well. I want to thank you all for joining the broadcast. We got quite a few viewers in here at a stage, so thank you to everybody who joined. Thank you to all the repeat viewers. I keep on seeing the same names popping up, and I really appreciate all of the support. So if you watched, if you enjoyed, remember to leave a like. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We're so close to 150 that it's annoying. So until next time, I'll see you then. Cheers.